This is Scott Grant, and broadcasting today from Stand Fast Studios, and somewhat of a unique show for a bunch of reasons. One of them is that we have a repeat guest.
Woo, Jorge Rivera.
Hey.
Now, Jennifer, would you have guessed that Jorge would be our first? This is our first repeat guest.
I had no idea. I certainly am glad that it's Jorge because he brought all of his toys today.
He sure did.
It's show and tell.
We got equipment all over the place.
I feel very important.
Yes, you have an iPhone pointing towards Grant. You have an H4n recording, Mr. Grant. We have 2 Rode microphones hooked up on 2 A7S2's Sony cameras. We have 2 ND monitors.
That sounds very impressive, doesn't it? All the numbers.
Yeah.
So we got 3 cameras. Let's break it down for the novice. We got 3 cameras on.
3 cameras, man.
I can hardly focus on what I'm supposed to be doing because I'm looking at myself in
at
every
the
direction.
And you're on camera, Jennifer.
I like it more than I thought I would.
I'm sure this is going to be good. Everything Jorge does is good.
Well, this is an expensive setup. I mean, what's the value of all of this equipment?
There's about $12,000 in this room right now.
In this little room.
Don't drop it.
I wonder what the equipment that Kevin gave us is worth, because we have that to add on top of it. So you said yours is $12,000?
Yeah, if you add all the stands that are holding the cameras, the cables, all the adapters.
There's got to be a few $100 of other
SD
stuff
cards,
here. Maybe. So there's a lot of stuff in this room.
And that's just the filming. I mean, if you take into account all the equipment that's used to edit and all that kind of stuff, then just the filming here.
Well, Stand Fast Studios has never looked more professional than it does today. Would you agree, Jennifer?
I do. I like the professional look. Can you just come every day?
Yeah.
And so, Jorge, are you best known for the St. Augustine Tonight Show, or are you best known, I guess, for First Coast TV?
Yeah, I think First Coast.tv, because that puts me sort of everywhere. And it's funny now with the virtual thing that everyone's doing virtual because of the virus, the COVID-19. I didn't wear my COVID T-shirt. I have a T-shirt that says "I survived COVID-19." I should have worn that today.
Did you actually contract COVID?
No.
Oh, okay.
But I mean, I survived the pandemic, and meaning, there might be a second wave, so don't count
victory. I would flaunt victory.
Yeah.
That's just my. As soon as you said it, I'm thinking to myself,
yeah, it might be an obituary by Christmas.
I don't know that I want to wear that T-shirt.
Yeah, that's funny.
It just seems a little.
But I have
dangerous.
it there just when victory is declared. What they say, we'll be in Berlin by Christmas. Okay.
I have bad experience daring the universe, and then the universe telling me, "Oh yeah."
Yeah, I got a lesson for you, buddy.
Yeah, no, I just as soon pass on that T-shirt. I think.
Yeah. But no, going back on that question, because now with the virtual thing, it happens that I tend to have all the archives of all the events, so everyone's reaching out for me to purchase.
Well, I know video. That the video you made, that we made together at least 3 years ago, maybe closer to 4.
U-boat?
The U-boat one.
That still gets comments on YouTube, man.
I noticed that the other day. That is one of the most liked videos I've ever been in. It beats,
vintage Scott Grant.
Well, and it beats the Dukascopy TV, where they translated me into like 10 different languages. Jorge's video is number 1.
Definitely. Jorge has provided to be, I guess, the most valuable resource we have worked with in our celebrity career, social media career.
Yeah, he shot a lot of video of us, and a lot of good video.
Yeah, that's
Did
what
we
people...
ever do? Remember we talked about it when I was on your TV show, St. Augustine Tonight. We talked about Phil A, going to see Phil A, and videotaping him up in the apartments overlooking the St. John,
Mr. May.
With the incredible view.
Oh, man, that view alone.
Jennifer, what's the name of that place? Those apartments?
Is it River something?
That's a good one.
Riverside?
Riverview.
River Place, something like that. Yeah, it was gorgeous, man.
But did we ever do anything with that video? He passed away, by the way.
No, I still have it, and we haven't done much. But those videos like that, that'd be a good video to edit and do something with, because I did, when I first started, I have a friend called Derek Hankerson. There's a shout out, Derek.
I love Derek Hankerson.
I was going to say, I know that name somehow.
Yeah.
It's a friend of Jennifer's, right?
Yes.
Okay,
so he works for some congressman or something, so he's usually in South Florida. But when I started, he said, hey, they're having a the Seminoles or some of the tribes of Yamasee are having a convention, and all these scholars and stuff. And there was a chief, and there were some, as you know, a lot of the slaves at that time ran and found refuge with the Seminoles and those tribes in this area. And today there are black Native Americans because they were, absorbed into those tribes. So we interviewed the chief, which I can't think of his name right now.
This is the chief of the Seminole
the
tribe?
Yamasee. One of the Yamasee. Yeah,
Yamasee.
It's called the Yamasee tribe or something like that. That video, when I put it up, got probably 12 views. And that was like 5 years ago. Every week since that time, I get 2 to 3 comments on that video. And that video is up to 7,000 views right
Oh
now.
wow, that's more than me in the submarine. We gotta boost the submarine.
Sounds like you need the chief of the Yamasee in here.
You haven't been there almost 5 years.
That's
You
true.
See, that
That's
video's
true.
been there, and every week, just almost like religion, someone leaves a comment either dissing it or surprised that that happened in history, or saying, bravo, this is great, yeah, and I know so and that tribe, this and that. So it's all, yeses, nos, and neutrals, but it's close to 7,000 views already. And I sent that to Derek the other day. Man, that video is almost the same. And he says, crazy, man.
Isn't it true his mother wrote 3 books?
Yeah, his mom, may she rest in peace, wonderful woman. She was a world. You could see where Derek got a lot of his that passion he has for so many things, and you could tell it came from his mom.
All bones are white. All
it's
bones be white. I think
something like that. But,
Yeah.
That's a controversial sounding title.
It is.
And on that note, I want to take a break, and I want to come back and talk about some projects we might do together.
All right, sure.
Here we are in beautiful downtown Ponte Vedra Beach with Jennifer Price and Jorge Rivera. This is Scott Grant. Now, before the break, Jorge, we were talking about some of your projects you've done. What's the most successful project that you've done in terms of online?
Oh, wow. Boy, that's hard to there hasn't been one that's been like, if I have to look as a long-term project, the St. Augustine Tonight Show, definitely. It's been
Well, then that gets a lot of views and likes. I mean, I see comments on that. And those seem to be organic to me, and when I look at them.
Yeah, that's what the show tries to be. It's there's no rehearsed questions. There's no dialogue. It's having a conversation with someone. And of course, there's a pre-interview to get to know that person. But once that pre-interview could be 2 months before, 3 months before. So by the time you get to the show, that person doesn't. I do because I recorded it, but they don't because they didn't record it. So I let it roll where it goes. Of course, I got to pay attention to a timer and all that.
Right. Well, you have a fairly long time. It seemed to me like when you interviewed me that it was about 15 minutes. Is that how long we talked?
Yeah, I try to keep the interview at 12 to 15, depending what the topic is. Sometimes it'll go that extra 2 minutes if it's really juicy. And you kind of feel guilty of just cutting.
Now I want to
there.
go back and see my interview and see how many minutes he gave me
Yeah.
before he cut me off.
My son has been fascinated by your live show down at the Corazon.
And that's St. Augustine tonight
Yes.
at the Corazon Theater. Are you going to do a season next year?
I don't know. With this whole COVID thing, I'm waiting to see. I'm thinking that if I do a season, it might be fall of 21.
Okay.
I get it. But he has been counting the days since shutdown. Well, it's Tuesday, right, Mom? Isn't it the Tonight Show on Tuesday? And I'm like, yeah, honey, I'm sorry.
We had to pull the plug on it.
Yes.
Yeah, but a lot of
Well,
people.
COVID canceled a lot of events.
Oh, COVID just devastated the world. I mean, from soccer to concerts to Coachella to Cannes Film Festival. I mean, forget our small festivals. I mean, the big worldwide giant festivals of the world were all canceled.
And you've got like a treasure trove
Well, the
of
Olympics.
memories.
The Olympics.
Well, yeah.
The Olympics were
Oh,
canceled
wow.
in Tokyo.
That's
Yeah,
pretty big.
Well, and they're postponed. They've
They're
just postponed
postponed.
a year. But it's interesting, because the 1940 Olympics were supposed to be in Tokyo. Those were canceled. Tokyo
Is that
has a history
Yeah.
of Olympics kind of going south on
It's
them.
kind of crazy how history or time betrays you. It's like when the Germans had their Olympics, it was the first time since Hitler and then they have that PLO attack that kills
Yeah.
all those Israelis. I mean, it's. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I do see what you're saying.
It's like time sometimes comes around to whack you in the back of the head with something like that, and here goes Japan, right? It
And there was some,
again.
controversy in when the Olympics were held in Moscow on both occasions. So
Yeah.
there's a certain amount of like, oh no.
Yes, it's like, oh, not again.
And I guess the NBA season's canceled, and baseball, we may or may not play baseball.
Well,
Oh,
baseball.
no.
This is what they came up with baseball.
Terrible.
Well, no, they're going to do 82 games or 83 games.
Oh, they have decided.
Yeah,
this?
they decided to do half. They decided to start with empty stadiums and slowly see how it goes. And so that's what. Same with the fireworks in St. Augustine. They canceled them. The fireworks in St. Augustine. Now they're like on standby. Okay, so yesterday they canceled them. Today they're on standby. So by the end of May, they'll make a decision whether they bring all those people together for the fireworks or not. And I think it's all seeing how the COVID thing goes.
I think a wait and see attitude's good. I mean, why make some final decision?
Right.
I think it's a
But,
wonderful
you
chance
talk-
for us to evolve.
Yeah, people's livelihoods are hanging.
You're talking about baseball, and we were talking earlier about virtual reality. I think there's some opportunities there, not just for baseball, but for football.
Well, someone will.
To do that situation where you put on your goggles and your earplugs and you're transported to the third baseline at Yankee Stadium or Fenway Park or wherever it is you really want to go.
Right.
I like that.
And then you can go and you can watch the game. You can watch. One of the problems with baseball, I think it's kind of long, 3+ hours for a game.
Well,
seems
yeah,
to be tough.
baseball is like watching chess. I mean, so much can happen. It could be a quick game, or it could be a really long game, and that's. I think that's part of the magic of it too.
But I could see, and I was thinking about the Super Bowl. I mean, how much would you pay to, be virtually on the 50-yard line at the Super Bowl, and you get to see the halftime show and everything just like you're there? There's got to be. Well,
I think they'll make money because I think football fans are maybe some of the most radical fans there are.
Rabid.
So I think I think they'll always make money on football. Whether it's fantasy, whether it's real football, whether they make it a virtual where you wear these goggles and you're there at the stadium.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think there's a lot to be said for for being virtually at the stadium. I mean, that's what we should be doing.
Buy a hot dog and a beer virtually.
We teased this segment by saying we're going to talk about some projects. Maybe we'll get to those. I want to talk a little bit about a possible project when we get back.
Okay.
This is Scott Grant, broadcasting from beautiful downtown Ponte Vedra Beach. I'm here with my guest host, Jennifer Price.
I'm enthralled.
Are you? Is
Yes.
this an enthralling conversation for you?
Yes, I feel on stage, and this is a lot of fun.
Oh, you could
got
feel on stage
cameras.
because
All
let's
the
remind that
monitors.
somebody might have tuned in during the music and now wonder what they've tuned into. We're simulcasting, right?
Well, yeah, we're filming this so that people can actually see this also on YouTube.
We have 3 different
On First
cameras
Coast.
focused on us.
Yes,
right
you
now.
have 3 cameras. You got 3 mics.
This is a
Lights,
little like what it
action.
felt being on the St. Augustine Tonight Show. I mean, you got up there. For one thing, major difference, you couldn't see past the wall of lights.
Right.
So that there were people out there. I mean, I knew there were people out there, but you couldn't see them. You could hear them every once in a while. And when they laughed, you were like, oh, that's great. They laughed or
Crunching
something.
popcorn. Someone eating popcorn.
I didn't hear a lot
They're
of
close
that. I actually thought my interview was pretty good. I think the
yeah.
people were engaged.
There
by
was
it.
great
Everybody
energy.
stopped eating to
No,
listen
but there
to
was
Scott
great
Grant.
energy in that room.
That was a good crowd.
Same season 3. There was great energy.
Well, this is season 2 of the Scott Grant Show, and
know.
you are the 3rd guest for season 2, I think.
Yes, and that makes us feel like we're the real deal when we have season 2.
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
we've done over 30 shows,
Oh wow.
and they're not all up on YouTube. We've been
That's
slow,
only
but we are trying to promote now the show a little bit.
Right.
So you and I have talked about doing something together, and one of the things that I like, and I think Jennifer likes it too, is this idea of doing some kind of a, strange events, macabre events, murders,
murder mysteries, the paranormal,
events
UFO.
that occurred in this area.
Mm.
And there's death in a lot of my stories. Obviously, the 19 submariners, but we don't have to go back and do those, or the 19 merchant mariners. We don't have to go back and do that one. But I got a good one. In 1961, there was a murder here. Takes place out near the Orange Park Best Bet, which was then called the Orange Park Kennel Club.
Mm.
And these two women had traveled from Valdosta because one of them had had a dream. And the dream was that the 2-5 daily double would pay off at the Kennel Club on May 29th. So on May 29th, they came and they made the bet. And they won. They won a lot of money. It was their lucky day.
Uh-huh.
And they go to drive home, and they get lost, and they encounter these two serial killers, one of whom is from Jacksonville.
Oh, wow.
And they lure them to an isolated location, and they assault them, strangle them, leave their dead bodies in the woods.
Wow.
Eventually, these guys go on a
Did they find the
5-state
bodies?
killing spree. They find the bodies 8 or 9 days later
Oh, wow.
by helicopter. They find the car 2 days later. Apparently, the two boys had tried to steal the car.
It was all about that car.
Wow.
They like cars, right?
Mm-hmm.
So then they go on and they kill 5 more people in 4 more states, eventually getting caught in Utah after killing people in Illinois, Kansas, and Colorado.
Wow.
And part of the story that gets to me is there was never a trial.
Huh.
The two young men, and their names George York and Douglas Latham, they're arrested in Utah and they're eventually extradited to Kansas, which is one of the places they've killed. They lured a railroad, set a trap for a railway worker. And in any event, they're convicted in Kansas and they're sentenced to be hung. And none of the other states see the necessity at that point to spend public money on a trial. I mean, they got the guys that did it.
They bragged about all of their murders.
Wow. It's funny how some serial killers, there's a I don't want to mention that, I don't want to advertise here, but there's on one of the on demand, they have a show, I think it's in its 2nd season, don't know, but it's about these FBI guys after
my favorite.
Yeah, it's very good. And they go after serial killers.
Oh, okay.
But killers that we already know.
So I
Real
shouldn't
serial
mention
killers.
Well, my wife loves my kids love all those cop shows. I mean, that's...
Well, a great book is We Who Fight Monsters. That's based on the guy. They based him in The Silence of the Lambs as the detective guy. But it's the real guy, Richard something was his name, Bressler or something like that. And he's the one ahead of that department. He wrote a book called We Who Fight Monsters, and it's a great book of chapter of the most interesting
you talk
serial
about
killers.
crime books, and sort of the first one to come to mind is In Cold Blood.
Right? Oh, yeah.
Truman
Capote, yes.
And kind of back to our story, and the other reason I want to tell it is that these two kids end up on death row in Kansas.
Oh, wow. Same place.
At the same time, Perry Smith and Richard Hickok, the In Cold Blood killers. And Capote interviews them and actually writes about these two kids very briefly in the book In Cold Blood. He's somewhat dismissive. He doesn't see he sees them as sort of vapid
amateurs.
They're not like Perry, not like his buddy Perry. But that's kind of what I want to do. So let's come back. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about some COVID. Let's talk about whatever comes to mind.
Okay.
This is the Scott Grant Show, and I'm your host, Scott Grant, and I'm here today with Jennifer Price.
Hi, Scott. Glad to be here.
It's always nice to have you here. And Jorge Rivera.
That's me.
Our first returning guest.
Yeah. And
we said we wanted to talk a little bit about COVID. How are you bearing up during the COVID? I mean, you're used to going out and making videos. This has got to put some...
everything was canceled. I mean, the plug, the show, which was on its... still had 3 shows to go. That was pulled the plug. And everything I filmed was canceled till July almost. So it just left me home cooking a lot, cleaning a lot, going through a lot of my equipment, organizing it. Since the show was done, I started, retiring equipment.
Did you film all of your cooking and cleaning?
No, I took pictures. I made peach cobbler. I made my own bread. I made all these Mexican dishes, paella.
Cooking and baking shows. Cooking and baking shows are popular.
Food is huge. I watch so much food shows on YouTube or Streamline. I grew up in kitchens because my dad used to build restaurants, and as a boy, I was always working. My childhood was.
What kind of restaurants?
He from diners to fancy diners to what they call eat and go, where you just sit down, eat, and move because that seat is for the next guy. So he used to build them, run them, and then sell them. And so, I was
probably
around
good
food all
business.
my life. Yeah, I mean, he did it till he died at 84.
I'm
It was
sort
his
of more.
passion.
I'm sort of more interested in the idea that there's so many cooking shows and
I love
house
'em.
shows.
I
and
love 'em.
We were talking about cop shows earlier.
And everyone makes the
there's
recipe
a lot of that
different.
stuff on television.
Yeah,
these
yeah,
days.
yeah. And everyone does the recipe a little different. And you might like. So if I'm going to make something, I look at several recipes and I pick the ingredients of every different recipe that I like. So
I've been very inventive with the school lunches that they're sending home.
Okay.
Because kids won't touch it. There's tons of food. Kids won't touch it.
Kids are.
But
yeah.
I have to take what they've given me, put it in the oven,
Yeah.
disguise it a little bit,
Right.
and they'll eat it.
Spread it over pizza. They'll eat it.
Yeah.
That's interesting. So you redo the school lunches into a gourmet dinner for your kids.
Yes, I have to take all the little pieces and be very inventive. They'll send home little ham bites. We don't like the ham bites. I'm like, well, if I'll cut up the ham and put it in with their breakfast eggs, and then they eat it. Oh, yeah, Mom, we love it. I was like, you didn't know that was school lunch.
Right.
School lunch omelet.
It's a trick.
That should be on the menu at every diner.
With kids, it's always tricking them. You have to trick them.
Yeah, kids.
If it looks like a Skittle, they'll eat it. So
That's funny. That's definitely
Put it
funny.
on pizza.
Yeah, right.
So, what do you think? Is COVID going away? Is it getting worse? Are we worried about a second leg?
Yeah, I think there'll be a second leg. I think the question of that second leg is, will it be weak? Will it be like this, or will it be stronger? And that's what worries me. I mean, we were kidding about my COVID-19 T-shirt. I survived, but there's this war isn't really over. It's just one battle, one big battle with a lot of losses. So, question is, will the vaccine get here? And when it gets here, will that vaccine be any good? Because viruses tend to mutate. They tend to change,
Have you found yourself becoming more relaxed in disinfecting your
like
hands
washing your
and
hands.
using
No,
gloves?
no.
He brought us.
at
He
the
brought
gas
us.
station?
He brought us hand sanitizer
Oh, okay.
in little tubes attached to carabiners.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, no, I did. I like
They're
that.
hard
Thank
to
you.
find.
I know.
Yeah.
I was like
Gold.
Yeah.
I'm going to put mine up for sale on.
On eBay. But it's crazy.
No, actually, I'm going to use it.
Well,
Thank you.
look at the toilet paper thing. What's this thing with toilet paper? I mean, toilet paper is becoming like cigarettes in prison. You're trading
Yeah.
food for rolls of. I'll give you 6 rolls for a candy bar. I mean, it's
I'm sure
it's
there's some of
ridiculous.
those things. They say it was mass hysteria. Somebody went to
It
the
is, but
store.
it's
what do
still you still go to the
yeah, no,
supermarket.
you still can't get it.
And it's hard to find, Or if they have it, they say you can only grab 2 rolls. Same with cans. People started hogging up all the canned food.
Well, and canned food made more sense. But I think, at some point, toilet paper will come back. And, I mean, it's not like we're using more of it, I don't think.
I mean, in Game of Thrones, the toilet paper issue never came up for the whole
Well, I
series.
think humans
know?
really love mass hysteria, Armageddon. There's something livening or life-giving about survival.
Well, I think
Well,
I think humans
survival.
feed on fear, and another thing humans they tend not to learn through experience, but through catastrophes. And it's only when it really breaks that then suddenly they gets all their attention and they work to fix the problem.
You're saying that people only learn things the hard way.
It looks
there's
like
a lot of
you
there's
know
a
that's
lot of people who think that.
we have a lot of experience with that. We see Katrina, the levees aren't good. Katrina comes, destroys a city like New Orleans. Oh, okay. I think we have a levee problem, and it's like that every time. Look, even in the small sense, there's a hole in the street. You keep calling the city. There's a hole. No one. A guy breaks his neck, kills himself. His family sues. Within 12 hours, that hole is sealed. And
Now the other thing too is
it's crazy.
Sometimes these news guys go out and they take a picture of the pothole or whatever, right, and then it gets fixed.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, when we come back, let's stay on this topic. Let's take a break. Listen to this music. Hey, Scott Grant here, and we are broadcasting from Stand Fast Studios in beautiful downtown Ponte Vedra Beach, and I'm here with Jennifer Price.
Hi, and it's not complete having an interview with Jorge Rivera if we're not talking about politics. Do you think the COVID is being politicized?
Oh, wow. Definitely. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that it comes down to, in some places they're saying that if you wear a mask, you're on the left, and if you don't wear a mask, you're on the right. I think that's hilarious. But
it's true.
Boy,
I mean,
it's
these
like,
guys are, you can tell a lot about somebody from whether they're wearing a mask or not, right?
Well, yeah, but look at the ads that are coming out. Their question is, November, this is really interesting. This is a Game of Thrones moment, and so we'll see how, if the zombies come in November, in that sense of the big battle is November, and what happens. But I think my whole view of this is, we create nuclear weapons and we have chemical and biological weapons for self-defense or whatever. Question is, I know that if we ever got attacked, we can retaliate. One of our submarines would come out of the sea and the rockets would fly, and whoever did it pays a heavy cost. But question is, if we got hit by one of these weapons, are we ready to protect the populace, the people? And question is, if COVID were on a missile coming from China and it's flying our way, are we getting prepared? A missile takes 12 minutes maybe, intercontinental? I mean, this thing took 2 months to get here. We saw Italy folding, Korea folding, Taiwan folding, France folding, and we're here. What are we doing? What were we doing? Everybody says, "Oh, we were doing this." You were looking at the rocket coming our way. I mean, it's crazy.
I mean, if you would say that this was a fire drill, per se.
But the Israelis have masks for all their people.
That's what I like to think of it, because I think that there's worse out there. That's me just being a conspiracy theorist. But that this was practice. That this
Practice
was
for the next...
the conspiracy theories are just... There's so many. I mean, there's so many. It's like someone saying, this was done on purpose to create a surveillance state where they know where you are, who you met, who you saw.
Yeah, that one really...
I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
The whole
there.
Surveillance state thing gets me because, part of the theory is that when we get the vaccine for this, that they're going to put a microchip in us that will allow them to track us.
Exactly.
Ooh, yay.
It just keeps going and going.
But who's spreading that rumor? People are walking around with a cell phone on social media.
Right.
And they can be tracked by the cell phone they're already carrying. So I mean, it's not like I need a microchip to track you.
They know what websites you were on. They know who you text. They know what you text. I mean, I think we gave it all away in 9/11 out of the fear of the terror attacks.
Yeah, some people say that.
And they've just built and built and built on that. And now it's like, I know as a citizen, I don't have privacy.
So one of the things that's being thrown around, you mentioned a bunch of countries, but you didn't mention Spain.
Spain got teeth
whacked.
kicked in, yeah.
And they've just implemented, government payments to all citizens, similar to universal basic income. And UBI has been one of the things that's been talked about as a result of, the politicization or what we're doing, because we are kind of paying people now.
Right.
People are getting checks in the mail, right?
Right. I mean, the question: you're a capitalist country. If you
did well, right? You're actually doing better. Well, I shouldn't say that, but you did well in this, right?
I survived, and I'm very happy with what the government decided to do. I'm surprised I didn't get my red face mask in the mail with the check.
The MAGA mask.
But I mean, if it's a capitalist country, if a country lives on fish and there's no fish, the only way you keep it going is by bringing fish in. So you got to give money out there so people could spend.
Right. People can spend.
And hopefully people will use that money wisely, either saving for...
what's interesting? They probably won't.
Or pay their debt down.
They probably won't. And actually, we don't want them to do either of those things. We want them to go out and buy food and movies and computers and iPhones and Teslas and cars and whatever else. That's what we want people to do with the money. We want them to spend it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a capitalist country. We need to.
That's from a capitalist point of view. You give people money and they spend. I find it an
stays in the country.
I find it an intriguing idea. They talk about right now they're throwing the number $2,000 around.
Yeah,
and that I don't
for
think
like 3 months or something.
I don't
that.
think that'll happen, but that's what
But it might be $500.
$600 billion a month getting spent on beer, potato chips, and technology, whatever else it's getting spent on.
Look how much we'll throw in a war. We'll throw 4 times what we're throwing in this. I mean, and the war at the end lasts 10 years, and what we do, we pack up and we go home, and the country falls apart anyway. I mean, so if you're spending that money here, and the people are spending it here, I don't see where that's so detrimental,
It's not the craziest. Now, a lot of people will tell you it's socialism, and I there is some socialist aspects to it, but it's not the craziest idea I've heard.
I mean, I like the idea that we are evolving as a culture, that it's not black and white socialism, but it's like the new republic of socialism. It's like, I don't know how you can merge those two, but it's an evolution of sorts.
My whole thing is the problem with what is socialism. It's like every time they talk about socialism, they say, you don't want to be Venezuela or Cuba. No, but I'd like to be Norway or Denmark. I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like someone trying to defend marriage, right? So if he's anti-marriage, he's going to bring the worst couples he can bring up to mind, right? Where he's in jail, or she's in jail.
They're both in jail.
And then someone wants to defend marriage, he'll bring that couple that's been together 50 years with all their beautiful grandchildren. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Socialism is almost like that. You pick the countries that represent it badly, and if you defend it, you bring the countries that are doing great with it.
That's very true. And Venezuela is a favorite target of the people who don't want socialism.
Yeah, Venezuela. They throw Venezuela right away, like if we are an agrarian society.
The other one that comes up a lot is Nazi Germany, because of course Nazi stands
National
for
Socialism.
National Socialist Party. I think other things destroyed Germany more than socialism.
Now we're going to be anti-kibbutz, because the kibbutz is socialist. Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. We'll come back, and I need to ask you an important question.
Yes, sir.
This is Scott Grant. You're listening to The Scott Grant Show on 103.9 FM WSOS. I'm here today with my co-host, Jennifer Price.
Feeling like a movie star.
Yeah, we got all these cameras. It's kind of nifty. Jorge came in and he brought all these cameras, and there's cameras all around me. I'm trying not to act like I'm on television, although I can see myself right across from myself.
Cameras, monitors, and mics. Oh my!
Makes me smile more.
Hey, what's that stock market doing? Come on, you're the money man here.
Oh wow! We don't talk about the stock market a whole lot, but the market has come back a lot from its decline. The market is telling us that this is going to be a short-lived recession. It's coming back, and a little weak the last couple of days, but it's come back a lot off of its bottom. And there's a number of stocks that have done well. You'd have been all right buying them right before the trouble started.
Right.
Amazon is one.
Yes. Oh well, it makes clear if you can't go to the grocery that often, you're going to buy it all online.
But
right?
Amazon doesn't pay a dividend. No,
Amazon doesn't pay a dividend, and we normally invest in stocks that pay a dividend. I mean, that's part of our sort of discipline.
Right.
I make an exception every once in a while, and Amazon is one of the exceptions. We do own Amazon stock. The other big exception is Google. Those are the two companies.
Google, they're big. They're big.
But you look. We were talking about the toilet paper earlier. I mean, Procter & Gamble makes toilet paper. So does Kimberly-Clark.
Yeah.
Those stocks have done well.
Right.
This has got to be the greatest bonanza for toilet paper companies ever, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they're selling a lot of toilet paper, right?
Yeah.
If they got toilet paper sitting in a warehouse someplace, I mean, they can sell it tomorrow.
Yeah. And it's crazy. I think the stock market will be affected maybe by what are the next numbers coming next month. One of the things about the stock market is it's very anticipatory. The best experts on Wall Street are already anticipating a certain number for those employment figures, and if we get better, it could be good news. If we get worse, although sometimes it's counterintuitive. It doesn't always work that way. Sometimes apparently good news leads to a decline, because then the expectation is that the comparisons in the future will be worse. There's a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff going on, and you're talking about people politicizing and jumping on.
together collectively, we make better decisions than we do individually.
My
And
prediction.
you see that in the markets.
Right. But my prediction is this Christmas, I think online sales are going to break the record of all time.
You
Well,
won't
what-
get them in time for the holidays. That's the problem.
Well, they'll solve it because this was the problem almost every Christmas at the beginning, and then they brought in what they had to bring in to make those deliveries. But I think this Christmas, the online sales are just going to just.
Well, I think you're probably right. I mean, one of the things about COVID that we talk about is that it's
people
accelerated.
waited
It's
afraid of
accelerated
that second
processes that we were already in. And certainly the easiest one I think for most people to see is online shopping.
Right.
That's
just
we
gonna
were
go
moving to
crazy.
online shopping, and now all of a sudden we're locked up at home, and the only shopping we can do, unless we're willing to put on a mask and brave going to the grocery store.
Has anyone here braved the online grocery shopping? Have you had groceries delivered?
No. I've
Well, a
done
couple of
my
my friends did. We have not. You have groceries delivered. I
I
know.
have had it before when my car was being worked on. This was long before the COVID.
Right.
And it was fabulous because I'm on the 3rd story, lots of stairs. And yeah, that was great having all of my groceries for the month delivered.
Because
Sorry.
my early memory of online shopping when it started was books on Amazon.
Right.
You buy a book or a CD, and a lot of people say, "Oh no, I don't like my credit card to be here." Those people are shopping their lives
Well,
away now.
if you go back
But now
even
it's
further in
everything.
time, I can remember people, older clients, relatives saying, I don't use an ATM card.
Right. Remember that?
And it's funny now,
Uh,
I don't really use an ATM card much anymore either, but mostly because I just don't use money.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, hey, I'll take you even farther. When I was young and old people would say, "You never catch me driving one of those Chinese, Japanese cars," and they all drive now Avalons and Camrys. All these old people.
You talk about the
It's
stock
funny.
market. One of the stories I always like to tell is that early on when I was working for E.F. Hutton, I had clients who were from that great generation, the greatest generation. And periodically, these men would come in and they'd say, you can buy what you want, but no Japanese companies and no German companies. Right?
Yeah.
Like,
They're still
oh,
fighting
okay.
the war.
Yeah, they're still in their head, yeah.
Yeah.
And you probably see a little
Yeah,
bit out of
beach.
this in terms of not wanting to buy Chinese products.
No, there's a Chinese onslaught.
Right,
Yeah,
and there'll be some talk about how that's going to save American jobs, when probably in reality it just moves jobs to Taiwan and Vietnam and wherever else.
Well,
It's not China.
Well, I feel China's a problem, and we need to sort out what our problem is. But this whole thing of the Chinese rape, I mean, to me, all those companies who went to China had lawyers, buildings full of lawyers looking at those contracts. All these companies got rich on the Chinese. That Amazon's $1 trillion, that Apple's $1 trillion. It's all on
Intel,
China.
Microsoft.
You
There's a
could go
lot of
on and
money
on.
was made in
all,
China.
All these so-called conservative business people, they just bought all that Chinese stuff, sent all their factories there. Now I feel that China's making lots of money and getting a lot of power. Now that's a problem, and so now comes this confrontation. But everyone got rich on China. Stop it, please. I was in China when it was still Mao's China, traveling around. It was dirty. It was no cars. It was bikes. You'd never think China's what it is now,
Well, I think consumerism has grown in China, and what we've seen in the past, back when
I would
Japan
recognize China if I went there
Japan
now.
was a threat, was ultimately, we imported Mickey Mouse, and they fell in love with
That's
Mickey
it.
Mouse, and then with an American lifestyle because of Mickey Mouse, I think, and nobody walks around anymore talking about Japan taking over. But
Right.
30 years ago, that was a popular theory. The Japanese were going to take over.
We used to laugh at Japanese products when I was a kid. When something break, we would say "Made in Japan." No one laughs at Japanese products now. You pay top dollar. But
How many of the equipment surrounding us right now?
oh, look,
is
these
from
are
Japan?
what's I guess everything. Even the Apple phone that I'm using for Scott. That all the parts are made in China, even though it's considered an American company. So this is what I think. It's ridiculous about this craziness. I do think globalization will take a step back because of the not having the ventilators, not having the PPE and all that stuff. And
well, it'll be interesting to see how travel sorts out. I don't think globalization goes away.
no, it won't go away. But I think people.
There's rhetoric.
Yeah,
There's a lot of
lots
rhetoric.
of it. Yeah,
There's a lot of rhetoric.
A lot of it. And so
Wow,
we'll
this
see.
this segment went fast.
I'm so glad you came, Jorge.
You're welcome.
Thanks for playing with us.
No problem.
Are you going to
Anytime.
be the first 3-time guest?
You never know. You never know.
Stay tuned
You
and
know.
find out.
Yeah.
All right. What'd you think?